good afternoon, and welcome to Rubbin Minds. My name is Isabella Adediji. Happy new month, happy September. September heralds the Ember month, and we hope you keep safe during this period. A lot to discuss on the show. We're looking at the economic situation in Nigeria, security challenges, in particular kidnapping in Nigeria, as well as the upcoming elections in Edo State and the peaceful protest that was had by the students at the University of Ibadan. To kick off this conversation, I'm joined by Olufemi Ibitoye, a public affairs analyst who is joining via the Abuja studio. Olufemi, welcome to Rubbin Minds.
Good afternoon, Isabella.
We're glad to have you on the show. Also joining us virtually via Zoom is Papeeyah, okay, also a public affairs analyst. Papeeyah, welcome to Rubbin Minds. I'll start the conversation with you, Olufemi, and I'm sure Papeeyah will join. Now, let's look at some of the economic challenges under this current administration, that is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. There have been a lot of talks about managing the debt situation and also managing the finances of this country responsibly. And for the average Nigerian, this is all well and good, but how does it affect the cost of living? Where is the priority? Is it on managing the high levels of debt, or is it on solving the immediate needs of Nigerians who are grappling with record high levels of inflation that has affected the cost of living? Where should the government be prioritizing, Olufemi?
Okay, so thank you, and good afternoon, Papeeyah. Good to have you here again. So I think one thing we need to first of all realize is that when it comes to economic development and our debt profile in Nigeria, one thing is very, very important. We didn't just get there today. We need to understand that there were decisions of yesterday. And of course, I can tell you that this present administration, if it had not been from, it has not been from the same political party, we will have had a lot of things that will have, be flying across the headline. For example, the present inflation which we've gotten ourselves here today is as a result of mismanagement of our debt. And if you looked at it, the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007 talked about how our debt, you see, everywhere in the world, nations acquire debt to finance their budget, even the first world country, but they do that with internal debt. But in our own case as a country, most of the debt which we are getting now, we use 90% of it to finance the debt we already have on ground. So, and which is having a resultant effect. Of course, we see what inflation numbers are saying. We see what the food inflation, which is the major problem we are having as a country. But here is it. If you look at the policies of this present administration, it's easier for us as analysts, as economics, just to talk about the numbers, just to criticize government. But then we need to look at what governments are doing and their intentions. If you look at the policies of the present administration, you see that in a way, for example, let's look at the ways and means, which was overly abused by the last administration, close to 30 trillion. If you look at it as of today, this present administration has been able, because when the present CBN governor got into the M of affairs, he said it was so practical and objective. He said he will not grant any ways and means except the present one is being paid. And of course, the Minister of Finance agreed with him and said they will not only pay, they will also stop borrowing. And as of today, maybe just about 4 or 5 trillion is remaining for them to pay from the previous ways and means. So if you look at this debt management profile, we are going somewhere. If you look at the policy, even this present administration, they try as much as possible not to go about borrowing. So instead of that, they look at to citizens via bonds and the like. So all of this, but then how does it reflect on the livelihood of an average Nigerian? What an average Nigerian want to talk to you about is how much is a module of gari, how much is a module of rice. That is what concerns an average Nigerian. But however, we also need to understand that it takes process to get to where we need to get to. Now, this is where the government now needs to come in and needs to take immediate action.
And I like how you say the government
The
needs
ad
to come
subsidy
in to
removal.
address the issues on ground. And while we're managing the debt profile, then how does the government explain some spending that has been seen by a lot of Nigerians as being reckless? We still have the cost of governance on the increase. We still have a lot of money being spent on things that are not deemed important. For example, the Hajj, the money that was budgeted for Hajj, and we could go on and on. What is this government saying? Look, how are we going to convince the people that they need to tighten their belts because we are also tightening our own belt? So it's one thing to do the debt recovery and to put all these policies in place, but how can they also show that they understand what the plight of the average citizen?
Okay, so absolutely. There's a Chinese proverb that says, talk doesn't cook the rice. You have to fire the heat. So if you looked at it, like I mentioned, the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007, so specific that when you want to borrow for infrastructure development and human capital development. But then it's so absurd when we see that some of this we borrow for consumption. And this is where an average Nigerian see our government or those in power with a lot of cynicism that whatever they do, it's always about themselves. So government needs to first of all realize that they need to further cut down the cost of governance. Because even in management, those, we talked about the blue ocean strategy, which means you have to cut down your cost of production because so that you can make good profit. So government needs to first of all cut down the cost of management, and there need to be communication, because some of these policies, if you looked at it, policies of government, because an average Nigerian doesn't really trust government. So when these policies comes out, they don't really embrace it. For example, look at what we have with the NEL fund, where a particular region, they are not really coming forward to apply for the student loan. It is because they don't trust government. So government has a lot to do as regards information sharing, either through their, National Orientation Agency, Nigerian Institute for Cultural Orientation. You need to let people know what you're doing. And just like a Yoruba proverb would say that if you want to pick granuts for a blind man, you have to be whistling so that the blind man is so sure that you are not eating the granite. So government, we are so tired of all these rhetorics. So now, but then if you looked at it, as regards food inflation, the Minister of Agric has been giving out grains to state government, to farmers. All of these things, it is to help. So we also need governments at the subnational level to support what the government at the federal level is doing. So government needs to, put in more socio-economic investment, socio-economic development. For example, let there be CNG buses. Like I was telling someone, I think day before yesterday, that if the Minister of FCT brings in at least 100 CNG buses, distribute it to satellite towns, this is where majority of those who are impacted by these government policies lived. So those in Maraba, those in Kubwa, those in Lugbe, this will have an impact on their spending. This will have an impact on the way they transport themselves down to town. So these are some of the policies that the government needs to, and there's this other policy that they also need to make sure that it reach those it's supposed to reach. It should not be for political servitude. Those who are politically aligned with you, you now want to compensate them. So government needs to be intentional in making sure that this policy reach those it's supposed to reach, and there is communication. The citizens are well communicated about these policies and how it will impact the whole citizen in the future.
Okay, I want us to move the conversation to the trust the Nigerian people have in this government. We have an election coming up in Edo State this month, and the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has announced that they have signed a peace accord, and they've also done a test run of the BVAS technology. Are Nigerians confident that this election will be peaceful, this election will be fair, and it will deliver, and that they can rely on this technology? Or is this all rhetoric by INEC and this government?
Well, I've always said, when it comes to election, it is not just about INEC. Yes, INEC is the electoral umpire. INEC will organize. INEC will announce the winner. But then we have a lot of other stakeholders when it comes to the political parties. See, the political parties, first of all, need to let themselves know that, okay, this is our state. Whatever rhetoric we set out there will have impact on governance after the election. Also, we have the international communities. The international communities also need to let them understand that, see, if there's election violence, if you're an election rigger, there'll be visa ban. All of these things usually have impact. So we need to also let the candidates and political parties know, they've signed the peace accord. It's not just about signing the peace accord. The way you campaign, what you say, we can trust INEC from now to tomorrow. If political parties, okay, now for example, if political parties brings in TOG and they go and attack a polling unit, or they go and attack the collation center, how does that affect the integrity?
But doesn't that bring in the question of the trust of the Nigerian people in the federal government to ensure that the elections are peaceful, by ensuring that we have enough security on ground so that these things do not happen, these acts of violence are not committed in the first place because there's adequate security and infrastructure on ground? Shouldn't the burden be on the federal government to ensure free and fair elections?
It's a burden on the federal government, and it's a burden on all of us as a citizen. Because sometimes politicians, when we want to seek power, politicians go above and beyond. In fact, to the extent of their utterances, with the way they communicate, with the way they even say some certain things. So now, if the federal government has put up a security architecture, we've seen an election whereby an individual, where police officers, soldiers, the security personnel were killed, they were mauled, even in an election process. So that's what I'm saying. It takes an holistic approach. It takes all stakeholders, both foreign observers, local, the citizen, and different institutions. We need to take ourselves accountable. The moment we begin to shift all our responsibility to government, to federal government, we'll begin to lose the essence of our nationhood. Yes, the fact that the federal government controls the security architecture and the INEC, they have a major role to play. We also as citizens, so Edo citizens, and I'm talking to you now, and the one coming up in Ondo, you have to talk to yourself. It's about the development of your state. It's not about APC, PDP, Labour Party, ABGA, or whatever party. Don't forget that you are not being nice. It is not just when you want to make your electoral choices. It is not about you liking the face of who is on the ballot paper.
So it's about all the stakeholders.
It's about the prosperity of your nation.
It's about all the stakeholders coming together to work for a free and fair election. I'll move over to Papeeyah, who is joining us via Zoom to weigh in on the Edo State elections, and that's the governorship elections. How prepared are we as a nation for free and fair elections? And do you agree with Olufemi that it's a burden that should be shared on all of us, shared by all of us, as opposed to being carried by the federal government and INEC when it comes to delivering free and fair elections?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, Isabella. The truth is, it's our collective responsibility to make sure that our electoral processes continue to improve as a country. Yes, the government carries the largest or the most part of the burden, but as citizens, as electorates, as people who are concerned about the development of our states and of our countries, we also have a responsibility, to ensure that our electoral processes continue to improve. However, it continues to break my heart that, year in, year out, we keep discussing the same problem about the Nigerian electoral processes and procedures. It is heartbreaking that we're not improving. It shows how serious a people we are. I'm not just saying that, I'm not putting this on the citizenry, I'm talking about government. We cannot continue to play lip services to organizing free and fair elections, and year in, year out, we are discussing the same concerns, and it is disturbing how Edo State is turning out right now. And if we are, I've seen verbal attacks. It's normal for elections, even outside of Nigeria. However, we should not, in 2024, with everything we went through in 2023, with a government that has the sincerity of purpose to improve systems and strategies, for a freer and fair elections in Nigeria. I think as we look forward to 2023 election, 2024 governorship election in both Edo State and Ogun State, I think our electoral umpire needs to do better. Our political parties need to do better. Our security outfits need to do better. Most importantly, our citizens also needs to also do better in ensuring that they take the development of their state in their hands and not be intimidated by any political party whatsoever. Femi said something earlier that I really agree with. It's not about PDP, APC, or Labour Party. It's about the development of the country. We need to have continued improved process in electoral, processes, and year in, year out, we need to see improvement, and we're not seeing it. It is disturbing that we're discussing the same topic that we discussed in 2023, in 2019, 2015 general elections as it pertains to state elections. I hope
Nigerians want to see
understand
improvement. They want to see improvement in the processes. They want to see transparency, and they don't want to see the same issues coming up over and over again. Olufemi, I'm moving to you, and this time I want us to discuss security, because that's something that affects everybody, and in particular kidnapping and ransom payments. A report by SBM Intelligence highlighted that Nigerians paid a whopping 1.048 billion in ransom to kidnappers between July 2023 and June 2024, with 7,568 people kidnapped across the country during this period. Now, a lot of times when we talk security, we're looking at maybe banditry, we're looking at the issues in the southeast, Boko Haram in the north, but kidnapping is something that affects everyone across Nigeria. Are you confident in some of the strategies put in place by this government to reduce the incidences of kidnapping, and what should be done to bring these figures down?
Well, I think these conversations has been conversations we've been having over the years. Though, yeah, there are pockets of improvement, but then one thing I want to tell the federal government of Nigeria, most especially the Minister of Communication, Mr. Bosun Tijani, is that we need to stop extending deadline on SIM and NIN linkage. These are some of the loopholes these criminal elements, they take advantage of. So the moment we stop that, the moment we say this is the deadline, and if you are not connected, if you have not linked it, that is the end. So because they use this as a form of communication. So these are the ways they...
The minister needs to stay true to those deadlines and not extend it, because
yes, the minister needs to communicate with NCC and let them know that.
Okay, I'd like to
let them know that this last deadline is final.
This last deadline is final. I'd like Okpeyemi to weigh in on that. What needs to be done to bring these figures down? Is it okay? Does it end with the minister ensuring that these deadlines are adhered to, or there's more to be done?
Thank you, Sabrina. That's an important point Olufemi raised there. I think that tracking kidnapping today, it's not rocket science. We have tech at our disposals, and I think that it still boils down to security architecture as a country and the sincerity of purpose, from our government. So I think number one is that, like Femi said, there has been pockets of improvement, but we can do a lot better. These ransoms are paid into certain accounts, and are we saying that we cannot trace this? Are we saying that in 2024, with all the technological improvement that we have across the world today, and how we are bragging as a country to be improving in terms of digital inclusion and coverage of the internet, are we saying that we cannot trace calls, or we cannot, find out who these, perpetrators of attack on this country is? Because the state of kidnapping in Nigeria is fast improving. Before it was in the north, now it's spreading across the country. And I think that, there needs to be more collaboration, and we need to actually reactivate our intelligence gathering as a country. Before now, Nigeria used to be one of the best countries on the continent as regards intelligence gathering. But I think that has collapsed right now. Security architecture has collapsed. And I think that, yes, the minister has a role to play. But most importantly, I think, we need to have our banks also have, a role
so there needs
to
to be
play,
a collaboration
in helping
between
us.
the different
There needs to be a
stakeholders to be able to trace,
Exactly.
using technology to trace these kidnappers and to be able to halt them in their steps. Thank you very much, Opeyemi Oke, for your contributions here on Rubbin Minds. And thank you, Olufemi Ibitoye, who has joined us from our Abuja studio. Thank you very much. We'll go on a quick break on Rubbin Minds. Don't go anywhere. Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time to show and prove.
Bro, isn't it nice to be finally out of the gym? At least once in your life. Sure, you will try your steak. Use cutlery. Guru. I say you should try steak, not absorb it. Where are you going? I don't know him. I came for an interview.
Are you not embarrassed? This is really embarrassing.
Ofe.
I wanna get with you. Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time to show and prove. Call him a content creator, an influencer, a social media sensation. You'll be definitely right. You just saw clips from the amazing, talented Papeeyah, who is our guest here on Rubbin Minds. Papeeyah, welcome to Rubbin Minds.
Thanks for having me. Thank you very much.
I saw you laughing at yourself.
Yeah, that was very funny.
So this content creation thing, growing up, people didn't want to become content creators. It didn't even exist. Maybe doctor, lawyer, TV presenter, but now you have content creation. When did you make the decision to pursue this full time? And did you have something else in mind growing up?
Yes, actually. Growing up, I actually always wanted to be an entertainer, but it was more of like music entertainment because I have passion for music as well. But I think the shift for me came when I encountered like a setback because I went for an audition, Nigerian Idol audition. It did not go as planned, obviously, but it was like a setback that sort of pushed me down, but I did not allow myself to stay down because I really did enjoy creating content. So I was like, I could pick myself back up with this. And then I just started from there.
And when you started, did you get a lot of encouragement from friends, from family, from the internet, or did you just have to push through it and just keep going?
To be honestly quite frank with you, in the beginning, it wasn't really encouraging because from the internet, no. Because there was nobody there, and I had about 200 followers or so. And I would post content, I would see like 3 likes, mine, my elder brothers, and my sister. It went on like that for a long time. But I stayed consistent because I had a vision of what I wanted to do and like where I want to be. So I'm not there yet, so like it's just constant steps. I just kept pushing through, basically.
So you just kept showing up for 3 likes. I don't think that's something a lot of people can relate to now because once you don't see those likes, it's almost like, oh, I'm not doing the right thing. So what made you convinced that you were on the right path and somehow you're going to blow one day?
Beautiful. I love this question, actually. Thank you. I think what made me stay consistent was the fact that I had people I looked up to. So when I started, I looked up to Maraji a lot, Tauma, both of which are my friends now, thankfully. So I sort of used them as my, will I say, yardstick to measure my content creating. It was like, okay, this is what these guys are doing. They inspire me. I am doing something similar to what they're doing. And I sort of like check and balance. Oh, is this the standard, because whatever I put out, even in the beginning, and with the little resources I had, I always ensured it was good. Even till now, I keep trying my best to make sure every time I have to show up, I show up correct. So when you know that you're not just putting out crap, like you're working and you're intentionally putting out the art, it's only a matter of time before it reaches the right audience. Do you understand? So it was sort of like I was building a portfolio. I was just like keeping it that any day people come and see it, it's there waiting for you. It might not be today, but it's still going to be here. Do you understand? So that was basically it.
And in the process, how did you discover your own style so that you stand out from the people who you admire and people who were trying different things out at the time?
Thank you very much for that question too. I think I found my style just by trying. Like I still have passion for so many things, but you can't really tell what you want to stick with if you don't try. Do you understand? So I started off by doing lip syncing videos. I did a lot of lip sync videos to Auntie Funke's Jennifer's Diary back then. Like, my God, I lip synced a lot of videos. So from there, it sort of progressed to making skits. I developed characters. There was Mommy Enoch, there was Enoch, Stella. Like, I made stories and like all of that. And then it just progressed from that as well to Papeeyah Talks, which is what is currently trending today, where I react to, sometimes viral videos, sometimes videos that just make me wonder, what is this? Do you understand, that kind of stuff? So I think I found my style basically from trying and for my love for talking, basically. So I think that's how Papeeyah Talks was birthed.
And when will you say was the turning point? Was it a video or was it someone's comment or a brand coming on board? What was that turning point that you went from 3 likes to being the celebrated social media sensation that you are?
It was during the pandemic. So before the pandemic, I was only active on Instagram. I was always making my videos there, and with the little to no appreciation I got, I was still consistent. But then I started hearing of this app called TikTok. And in my head, I was like, mind you, backstory, before I actually started creating content, I did not like the idea of social media. I was one of those kids that was like, social media is such a fake place. Ew, I don't like it. But like, I found myself there somewhere. But anyways, I heard of this new app called TikTok. And because of my existing dislike for social media and the concept behind it, I was sort of slow to, get on the app because I was just like, let those ones just be doing their things job, do my thing here. So the pandemic struck and it was like almost everybody was on TikTok. Do you understand? So I was like, let me even just go and see what was happening on this TikTok street. I got there, I was scrolling, and it sort of felt nice just to be a scroller, honestly, because I was just there observing people's content and just like engaging here and there. Until a day came and I was like, why not just post one of your contents from Instagram? Because I did not even think to create a new content for TikTok. I was just like, let me just post one of this old work I've done that had like 3 likes or what. I posted it on TikTok and I saw like 200 likes, like literally just 200. And when I tell you, those 200 likes were like the whole world to me. I was like, 200 in a day. I was literally calling my brother. I was like, go and check my TikTok. If you check the top right corner, you will see 200. I was so excited. So that sort of gave this encouragement to me because I was like, there is more. Like, there could be more if I tried. So I went and I just started like reshuffling all those my Instagram content. See why it's good to always do good wherever you are. Because it just became a matter of taking from here and just pasting it here. So I just kept doing that. It went on to 2,000 views. I just started seeing real life human beings commenting on my post. I'm like, these are real people engaging with my work. That's so amazing. So I felt the love. And then even as little as it was then, it sort of like gave me courage to keep going because I came from nothing, literally. Like I had just my mom and my sisters watching my stuff. So my sister, right, watching my stuff. So I just kept posting and kept posting until I now started intentionally creating content for TikTok. I went from creating horizontal videos to vertical videos because at the time it was just horizontal I was used to. But I had to, shift with the time. And I started doing my vertical videos for TikTok. And then I just kept, posting until my first viral video came. And then it was like, boom.
And everything changed. So someone listening is thinking, well, we just keep on posting and one day I'm going to go viral and everything is going to happen for me. But in the meantime, how do I
feed myself? How do I pay my bills? Like, what worked for you? Or were you doing like 2 or 3 side hustles to do this content creation? Or you were just patiently waiting for that big break to come?
I think of a life. Oh my God, oh my God. Content creation started paying me, thankfully. But before it did, I worked, I think, 3 different jobs at the time. Yeah, so I even worked at the office during the time I started gaining recognition. If you check some of my old videos, I made some of them in the office. So I would wake up early, get to work in time before my colleagues and my superiors came, like do whatever I had to do, and then just create a little set with my props. Then I used to like wear this very, very, very strange wig. Oh my God, it was a sponge. But I mean, it was props. So I used that to create my content in the office before they came. So I like created content in the office while I was working and I was getting paid. So I sort of used the hard work to support my dream. Do you understand? Because you can't really, I don't think any dream can grow without finance basically. So I had to get all of that going for me in the background. And then when I saw that it was getting to a point where I could stand by myself, I respectfully resigned.
And at any point, did you have to deal with trolls, negativity, cyberbullying, people just coming for you for no reason? They just don't like your face. They don't like the way you sound. Why is this guy even blowing for nail? Like, what is his own problem? Like, why is he doing his hair like that? Like, did you have to deal with any of that?
I mean, I don't see them. If I'm being honest, I don't really see them. I feel like I've seen a few, but thankfully, my content and my style of creation is basically like, it's just a fun place. Like everybody just comes here to laugh. And I see lots of comments like, oh my God, my day was really bad. And this video really just took like I see a lot of that. And then even if the negative comments are there, I really don't pay attention to them. I mean, some people talk about my voice, some people talk about my charisma, my mode of speaking. I see some of those comments here and there, but the really good ones have just done a really amazing job of overshadowing them. So I really don't get trolls like that. Thank God. If you are watching this and you're a troll, please don't come for me. This is not your this is not your cue. Thank you. Stay away.
And how do you remain fresh? How do you remain popping and continue to put out content that has the ability to go viral and to bring in the likes and numbers that these brands desperately want?
So one thing I believe has worked for me over the years is authenticity. You know, I started off as someone that looked up to other creators before finding his path. When I found my path, I stuck to it because that's the only thing that can take you wherever you want to go. Authenticity is what would keep you fresh because it's just you being you. And there is no other person better at being you than you. So I just kept doing me, honestly. Tomorrow, a new style could come, I would follow it because that's me. Do you understand? So I feel like all the growth and all the freshness, you know, came from authenticity and just trying to be better at what you were yesterday.
And when you say new things, is there any plan to go back to music? You know, people get very popular and they go out and pay producer and they release an album. Are you planning to do that, leverage the popularity and fame to pursue that original dream of entertainment of being a musician?
Beautiful question again, as always. Thank you very much. But yeah, right now I am not looking to pursue music because I have a plan. So I believe, you know, it started off as me just trying out different things because I didn't know what was going to stick. Do you understand? But now it has progressed to a point where I have understanding of what I want for myself. Because in life, you have to understand your goals. So I have goals I want to achieve. And I have plans. We're currently working on projects that I don't want to disclose right now. Aww. But I can't wait for it to hit your screens because, oh my God, amazing, amazing work. So I have like this trajectory set for me and like a plan that I'm following for myself. And music will come, but it's not anytime soon. Yeah, we have a couple of things for the Papeeyah brand.
So maybe Papeeyah the actor.
Bill Gates, I think we'll see the vision. But yeah, something in that light. We're coming to the big screens soon.
Now let's talk about the industry, content creation, social media influencing. It's interesting that at the beginning of our conversation, you mentioned people who were supportive, people you looked up to. Do you see beef in the industry? Do you see people who come against other content creators maybe to go viral? And are you constantly looking for ways to collaborate with other content creators?
Yes, collaboration is key. I mean, I have collaborations with a couple of my content creator friends, and a couple of creators also reach out to collaborate with me. So yeah, I do collaborations. And in the aspect of beef, I mean, we all see the beef now. It's everywhere. Some people used to trend, but not within my circle, thankfully. So the beef is there, but it's not in my area.
It hasn't infiltrated to the Papeeyah
Hasn't,
circle.
hallelujah to God, though it hasn't. He shouldn't either. But yeah, that's it.
Okay. And what advice do you have for people who are coming into this industry, or people who are having thoughts about maybe putting their content out or finding their voice? What should they be doing?
Be real. Be real with yourself. People will tell you, people will tell you, no, because they've not, it's only you that can see your vision, honestly. When I started, I had a colleague where I worked before tell me that, like, he looked at me categorically, and honestly, I feel like it came from a place of care because he saw me struggling. He was like, this thing you are doing will not pay you, stop it. Like, legitimately told me that to my face, a very young
face
boy.
Your day job. Don't quit your day job.
Yes. I was like, it broke me at the time. And honestly, I almost thought of it. But then I remembered my vision and I remembered my goal. And I was like, nah, that was not for me. So, do you understand? You have to stay true to yourself. Like,
stay true to yourself.
Stay true to yourself. Stay true to your vision. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Papeeyah. That was such an interesting and educative conversation. And good luck with all the projects coming out. Papeeyah the actor.
And everything in between. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time to show it.
Welcome back to Rubbin Minds. Now, with the rise of the gig economy, you have people who do a 9-to-5 job but find time to have a side hustle, 1, 2, or 3 to generate multiple streams of income. And as the world, and Nigeria included, goes through some very tough times with inflation at record high levels, it's now the time for people to diversify, leverage their skills, and generate multiple streams of income. On Rubbin Minds, I'm joined by a multiple income strategist in the person of Folake Omotoye. Folake, welcome to Rubbin Minds.
Thank you so much.
So, side hustle, multiple streams of income. When did you become a multiple income strategist? That's the first time I'm hearing. I didn't even know something like this exists. What inspired this?
Okay, my name is Folake Omotoye, and I'm known as Side Hustle Boss. I used to work at PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers Nigeria. I have 20 years audit experience working there. And 7 years, into working in PwC, I had the need to start a side hustle, or it's like an hobby. Sewing dresses for my sisters, just like an hobby, using my old mommy's clothes. And before I knew it, people were asking for those dresses. I was selling them and I was making a lot of money. And I had to define what exactly is this? Is this an hobby or is this a side hustle? And before I knew it, I gave it a name. I used to call myself Babe for Life. The name of the store is Babe for Life Ankara. We're in Jabi Lake Mall and Palms Mall. And before I knew, I started selling. I moved from the house, started selling in stores. And that was it. So when I resigned 2 years ago from PwC, I was like, what's the next stage of my life? Should I still continue just audit? I love audits. I'm an accountant. What else could I add to this? And I'm like, okay, let me start teaching women how to improve their personal finance. Actually, in 2018, God had told me that I needed to do something for women, but I didn't take it serious. Before I knew it, I started talking about side hustles, savings, investments. Because I had the experience, it was so easy for me to get it started. So right now here, 2 years, during this.
Wow, very inspirational. You turned your passion to profit, and now it's become a career on its own.
Yes.
And then you're now helping other women in particular to be able to diversify their streams of income. Just listening to you, there came a turning point, which was 2 years ago, where you had to make the decision to serve one master, not two masters. When does it remain a side hustle, and when does it become maybe you're cheating on the first your first love, which is your main employer? How do you draw that line?
It starts with, you need to understand what the policy of your employer is about, because that's really very key, so that there's no conflict of interest when you're working. You need to respect the boundaries, and once you know what is expected, easy for you to streamline yourself. Usually your side hustle is based on your passion, and we were called to live our lives. You want to have fulfilling lives. You don't want to die, and still have things in you. I guess, with the side hustle, you're able to do a number of things. So if you're able to respect the boundaries, that helps. Making sure that you understand the policy and there's no conflict of interest, you should be fine.
And what are popular side hustles, or what can a woman today, maybe who is engaged in a 9-to-5 job, and they're okay with them pursuing something outside of business hours? If you had to say like the top 5 most popular side hustles, what comes to mind?
Okay, because I run a side hustle community. It's called the 20K Club, and a number of people come to me and are like, oh, what are the businesses that people are doing out there? The most popular that I'm aware of, e-commerce. So a lot of people can sell on e-commerce, in terms of sell on Amazon. You could sell, if you're creative, you could sell on Etsy. You could sell on Gigi. You could sell on Konga, and a number of social media platforms. Also, content creation is the in thing now, because as businesses grow, you need to put in marketing strategies to ensure that you're doing very well, and you need content creation to help you. So digital marketing, affiliate marketing, drop shipping, and tutoring is doing very well. People that understand, or that can teach languages, math, English, there are different apps where people can actually sell, and these are some of the popular things that people are making. There's a lot of money, because especially in Nigeria, the population is wide, so a lot of people can actually venture into a number of side hustles to increase their income.
And do you need to go back to school to start some of these side hustles? Do you need to take courses? Do you need to equip yourself? Like, if somebody is watching and they say, okay, I want to start the side hustle right now, what do I need to be doing?
The first thing I will tell the person is, what are your skills? What are your interests? What are the things you love to do, and you will do it without me paying you? Sometimes I'm unable, some people don't have answers to that, so they really need to think. Sometimes I tell them, go and ask your friends, your family, what did they tell you about yourself? You also need to have strengths. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? For someone like me, I run away from anything that is mechanical, so you can't see me repairing cars. So I stay in a place of strength. So what you should do, it depends. You can learn some of these skills. Some are inborn, but let your strength push your skills, and try and make sure that you're solving a problem. Because if you're not careful, your side also can be an hobby. There's a thin line between hobby and activity and business. So you need to be very, very careful, making sure that your side hustle is going to be profitable. So it needs to solve a problem. You also need to identify the niche, because you cannot be everywhere. You need to know, okay, I want to focus on women, I want to focus on men, I want to focus on this part of demography, whatever. So define yourself, define your space, and improve yourself. Research. There are a lot of places online, a lot of sites that you can use to improve yourself, a number of YouTube videos, a number of things that you can use to help yourself out there.
And when you decided you want to go into this side hustle, how much time do you need to give yourself before it starts generating money? Because the difference between a hobby and a side hustle that gives you money is how profitable it is with the amount of time you're putting in. So do you expect to start earning money from day one, or do you give yourself a year, 2 years, months?
So the answer to that is, it depends.
Or should there be a cutoff line, so this is a hobby and this is not really going to pay me?
And sometimes hobbies can actually translate into side hustles. So for me, it started like an hobby, I don't know how to sew, but I know how to design. I know how to I know how to design. I know how to. I like colors. I like Ankara, and so I'm like, oh, you can transition this and turn it around and see how that can turn into business. I also know how to market, so that was one of the skills and the strength I put in place.
So it varies. It could be 1 month, it could be 2 months.
So it could be a month, it could be more than that. But I like to tell everyone that with business you need to be very careful. One of the good things about side hustles is that because you have a main hustle, usually a side hustle augments a main hustle. So you can still rely on your main hustle while you work on your side hustle. You need to put in the structure in place. For me, I would always tell you, make sure that you have cash. If you say you want to leave your main hustle, should make sure that you have enough cash to at least transition very well, maybe a year or two, and make sure that you're not doing it for a short time. Business it has a circle. So it could take, your own business might take 2 years or 3 years for you to have a proper understanding, while some might take a longer time. For me, it took me about 13 years before I was like, okay, I was making twice my salary in PwC. And I felt if I put in more time, I'm going to make much more than what I was making in PwC.
And so people need to look at their figures. People need to see that it's economically viable. How important is it to work with consultants in looking at the viability of a side hustle? Or do you just continue to observe and take things as they come?
You need to learn and unlearn. Like I said before, you have to research. It's so simple. The necessary numbers, financial numbers. What's your revenue? What's your gross profits? What are your costs? What are you spending more money on? What's your net profits? How much cash do you hold? How much stock do you have? You don't really have to talk to an accountant or a consultant before you are knowledgeable about some of these numbers. And one thing you need to know, once you see growth, you feel it, you see it, you know that yes, it has gotten to this stage. This business needs me full time.
And what are some common pitfalls that people who engage in side hustles tend to face, and maybe even they get discouraged and decide, you know what, this side hustle thing is not for me? And is it possible that not everyone will have a side hustle and not everyone should have a side hustle?
Okay, so good question, because I get it a lot. The first pitfall is there's a copycat syndrome. So you see your friend or your neighbor, they bought a new car, because they are selling air, you decide to want to sell air. You see your friends doing this particular business, you assume that there's money there, you jump into it. And that's not how businesses should absolutely. A lot of people make those mistakes. You're supposed to do a bit of visibility study. And as the business progresses, you know more about it and you improve on it. Some of the pitfalls also include structure. People don't put the right structure in place. There's a lot of conflicts between even the side hustle and the main hustle. You're in the office, you're taking a call, customer call. You've not put things in place. Someone like me, I remember in PwC, I had the store in Jabi Lake Mall, and I had cameras, so I knew what was happening. I had an accounting software, I had the people, so it was easy for me to monitor, even though I wasn't physically there. So these are some of the things that people need to put in place. Another thing is people, like I said, we look at it like hobbies. We don't set out that, oh, I want to make money from this. This thing can be the next Netflix. This thing can be the next Amazon. We just think small and say, look, let me feel comfortable in this main hustle and not just, go into a side hustle.
And finally, can everybody have a side hustle, or should everyone have a side hustle, or some people should just stay on their day job?
When I speak to certain people, they'll tell you, I can only do 9 to 5. I'm not built to have a side hustle. And I disagree. I think we're all born to sell. When you came to the world, you didn't come with anything. You need to prove yourself. You probably need to speak to me first before you know what is in me. So we all have, even if you are working an IT unit of a firm, you are selling to the audience in that firm. So usually side hustle, you're supposed to have a focus on your passion, how you can turn it around and fulfill your dreams. I think everyone, because even the way the country is going, I think everyone should have a side gig, something that would give you fulfillment, not just money.
Thank you very much Folake Omotoye, multiple income strategies for sharing on the business of side hustle. I was glad having you on Rubbin Minds.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
My name is Isabella Adediji. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Rubbin Minds. To join us again, same place, same time next week. Goodbye.